flames. This right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum.
Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe.
The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter isn't natural. It's the graveyard of an entire planet destroyed in cosmic warfare. What you're looking at through telescopes are the scattered remains of Maldek, obliterated in battles that raged across our galaxy for millions of years. These weren't just territorial disputes between alien civilizations. The Galactic Wars represented a fundamental clash between two consciousness paradigms that still shape our reality today. On one side, beings following the law of one and service to others. On the other, forces promoting service to self and tyrannical control. The conflict began in the Lyran system, spread through Orion, and ultimately reached our solar system. When Maldek threatened Mars, the resulting retaliation didn't just destroy a planet, it fragmented millions of souls who then sought refuge on Earth. The trauma from these cosmic wars became embedded in human consciousness, creating the victim-victimizer patterns we see playing out across our world today. This isn't science fiction. This is the hidden history of our universal time matrix, and understanding it is key to humanity's awakening. Ready to uncover the full story? Join us on Grand Rising with ChristoLight, where we dive deep into the cosmic origins of human consciousness and our path to transcendence.
Hello, blessings. Blessings, blessings. Grand Rising, Grand Day. Welcome to this new cosmic episode of Grand Rising with ChristoLight. And we are continuing our pioneering of exploration when it comes to this universal time matrix. And before we even deep dive into what you guys just saw as our focus and our topic for today, which is going to be the galactic wars of our human history in this universal time matrix. We are going to be deep diving into Lyra, Orion, Atlantis, Hyperborea, and much more. It's going to be a jam-packed episode full of memories, full of activations through DNA clearing, as well as ascension. Now, I do want to give you guys the heads up that throughout this episode, you may feel emotional triggers. You may feel ancient memories. You may feel codes download or come online for you throughout this episode. So get your guys self ready. Grab some tea, snacks, cacao, maybe hit a little bit of 420, whatever it is you enjoy, and get ready for a beautiful ride as we journey through the history of galactic wars. Now, some of this is going to sound familiar, kind of like Star Wars and some other movies, and you're going to see that there's parallels. Really fascinating stuff. So let's take a rewind to yesterday to see where we left off, and then we shall continue forward and deep dive into our galactic history with galactic wars.
Live exploration of humanity's hidden evolutionary journey. Tune in now.
That's for you, but enjoy the sound and the frequencies of the sacral. Following is the root race seeding cycles, which describes the evolutionary time cycle and the root races associated with each time cycle during planet Earth's evolution. We are currently in the 5th root race cycle and are here to heal and unite with all of our fragments from the previous root race cycles. And we have the Hyperboreans, antiparticle double to the Polarian race. Seeding 2 and seeding 3. The 5D Earth, which is Terra, and the 3D Earth. We have root race number 3, which is the Lemurians. Root race number 4, which is the Atlanteans. The Elohim and the Founders renegotiated to ensure that human species evolution would continue, but would be sealed off from the higher realms as to protect the higher dimensions and entities from all of the distortions and genetic mutations that had occurred in the human race. Humans would have to clean up their mess to be allowed access to their cosmic families again. Those awakening now are in the forefront of embodying those adaptations, as they are the consciousness bridge spanning into the future birth cycle of the next root race of the human species. Does not have to come back to the Earth at all. Now, the person can go any place in the cosmos and they choose to go without limitation. However, if they go to another planet, they will be subjected to the laws of that planet's inhabitants. This is the status of having a cosmic identity and being a full cosmic citizen. So yeah, I love this right here. Talking about how we don't need any intermediary or third party for us to access our connection to source.
There was a substantial period spanning millions of years in which the Lemurians and Atlanteans coexisted. Atlantis, known esoterically as Kusha, was a continent that spanned a significant portion of the present-day Atlantic Ocean, with the white magicians warned telepathically to flee in ships before the cataclysm. Atlantis's destruction, attributed to successive disturbances in Earth's axial rotation triggering earthquakes, resulted in its sudden submersion. Humanity presently resides within the fifth root race, known as the Aryan root race, which emerged approximately 100,000 years ago from the preceding Atlantean root race.
All right. So that is where we left off on the last episode, talking about the root races of the Earth. So you had the Polarians, Hyperboreans, Atlanteans, Lemurians, Aryans, and they say that we're currently in the Aryan cycle. Now we have 2 more cycles to go on this planet before total ascension of Mother Gaia or Mother Earth. So very fascinating, very, very fascinating when it comes to our ancient history and the organic timeline that we are a part of. There's so much more than what they have told us. Life isn't just things began when slavery started and then America was discovered, but then there's nothing about Egypt, nothing about Samaria, nothing about all these ancient lineages that connect us to who we are now, being taught inside the schools. The schools are just teaching us about wars, the banks, the things that are going to condition us to only believe and think that our history is the history that they're feeding us, which is again about the wars in our history, like the Nazi War, the Revolutionary War, Christopher Columbus, all these things. But you don't hear any of this. I mean, it makes you wonder, right? It truly has to make you wonder. So let's get some music playing. Let's get some vibes flowing. And let's uncover more about the truth of our history together. I thank you guys for joining me. And I love you all. All right, so we're going to start with Ascension Timeline Rebellion. All right, so Ascension Timeline Rebellion. Reference from historical timeline trigger events. Approximately 22,000 YA. The negative agenda groups negotiate agreements for Earth territories and humans for workers, sex, or slave colonies. Galactic trading of Earth resources. Reptilian ownership of Earth humans. We are living through a great transition and ascension process. From a dark aeon to a new aeon. Many of the themes that were seeded by dark forces tens of thousands of years ago of human subjection and enslavement are being reasserted in an attempt to maintain control. Their long-term goals were continuing with negative agenda colonization strategies for enforcing reptilian ownership over human bloodlines for carrying out their prison planet objectives, in which the intruders use human genetics as the currency exchange for on and off planet human trafficking, sexual slavery, and as products created for consumption. Earth became the most valuable real estate investment portfolio in the local solar system, filled with big business conglomerates mining genetic resources and extending into other planetary systems for bartering and trade that serve the interest of the invading races. As humanity is completing the timeline trigger events of the Ascension Timeline Rebellion, which manifested as the consciousness enslavement of human beings by those of intruders that invaded our planet. The shackles of mental bondage connected to mind-controlled transmissions suppressing the Atlantean records are beginning to dissolve. Awakening humans are at the crossroads in the organic ascension timeline in which they are facing the next stage of the consciousness evolution cycle that included a newly discovered personal freedom to information that they did not access before. See historical timeline trigger events, galactic wars, and age of humanity. So we have destruction of human slavery. So throughout the management of human DNA and hybridization breeding programs, along with the intentional destruction of actual historical records, the negative agenda inserted false holographic timelines and false holographic identities for divide and conquer in order to hijack the collective, co-creative consciousness for controlling the timelines, to ultimately thwart planetary ascension. This is why this period 22,000 years ago is also called the Ascension Timeline Rebellion, as the invaders began to work feverishly, negotiating on and off planet treaties and cultivating strategic alliances in order to terraform the planetary grid, gain control over human DNA, and manipulate the internal Templar system, gaining access into the Albion light body. The disastrous hidden histories of the Ascension Timeline Rebellion, recorded in the planetary matrix from this time period, contains the causal seed event of the Great Thothian Betrayal and subsequent stages of negative agenda invasion. When angelic humanity and Earth's resources first became transactional commodities to be used by the intruder groups in their well-established galactic slave trading and bartering system. Yet, because the tragic event began 22,000 years ago and reached its pinnacle during Atlantis, many humans are totally unaware that we are considered tradable commodities, both on and off planet. We have been repeatedly mind-wiped, brainwashed, and ritually abused to forget who we are from the many cataclysmic events and resets, DNA unplugging, and erroneously absurd historical accounts given to explain away our advanced angelic human culture that exists before we became slaves after the Ice Age floods. Thus, the Ascension Timeline Rebellion is a significant marker in the hidden historical timelines of planetary invasion, as it is when assorted negative agenda factions began to exchange treaties on and off planet, which included the systematic hunting down of the Mahi Grail line angelic humans for extermination, especially those that were from lineages of the Blue Flame Melchizedek Templars protecting the planetary network. There were no warning to hide or prepare when the Great Thothian Betrayal gave our enemies all they needed to take us over. As the full-scale planetary invasion was launched from the interdimensional planes and spaces, which rained down electromagnetic destruction in the forms of fires, explosions, earthquakes, and floods, directing technological weapons designed for the maximum impact of grid damage and destabilization, unleashed the mass destruction of the holographic structures on the Sunstar networks connected to the sacred portals, stargates, ley lines, sundials, temples, and cathedrals across the planet. The negative agenda has failed in their objectives to prevent the planetary ascension that is currently underway. However, Guardian Hosts and Ground Coup are in a process of clearing up the miasmic heaps of dead energy, archonic parasite nests, superimposed karmic loads, repairing grid networks damaged by AI machinery, evictions of assorted alien factions, and related cleanup crew spiritual work connected to the string of tragic events when humanity was turned into a slave race 22,000 years ago. Draining the swamp. Literally. Draining the swamp of the earth. Shout out to all of you that are here on this earth right now, consciously aware that you know that you're cleaning up this earth, you're activating the grid, and you are bringing healing and restoration to our human species. Thank you guys all for being here to help us move through all this, to sort out this history, to get us back into awareness of who we are so we can truly live empowered, free, and full of love. So we will continue here, and then we will move into talking about some of the wars in the history. So human slavery versus human freedom. As the historical events surrounding the Ascension Timeline Rebellion surface into the planetary matrix, the core themes humanity is facing are directly connected to the events that sealed our fate as captured slaves 22,000 years ago. The contrast between the consciousness states of slavery versus freedom, servitude versus liberty, sovereignty versus subjugation. The master and slave archetypal forces are being exceptionally heightened in the collective consciousness and interpersonal dramas. This holds the cellular memory record in our DNA connected to individual and collective human enslavement on our planet as it was being invaded. And these same memories are surfacing in personal timelines in which we are psychologically and emotionally clearing out personal pieces of this shared collective trauma of global human slavery. In order to fully spiritually heal, each individual must awaken into their authentic humanity and recognize the fear-based division of mind control that oppresses all humans. In order to finally see the higher truth of what and who is actually behind the enforcement of the consciousness slavery of our planet. This means we must let go of our personal fears, which keep us in denial from seeing and knowing the truth in many of the outer events taking place all around us. Seeing the promoted ideologies and the negative agenda culture wars, which are extremely harmful and designed to enslave the human race, and especially children. Thus, the current dark night of the soul themes for the collective consciousness are about awakening to the reality of having enslaved in a consciousness suppression system throughout the many years of mind control broadcasts of mental bondage and fear-based materialistic thought forms that are relentlessly propagated in the controller's manufactured death culture and slavery system. The hidden history of non-human entity invasion on the planet during the Ascension Timeline Rebellion that caused the Atlantean fall and global human slavery begins to sprout seeds that opens up into the minds of the masses as the cellular memories of an advanced human civilization in contact with other galactic faring species starts to be seen or experienced in ways that can no longer be ignored. More of the collective fears dissolve. All right, Spirit's telling me to keep going. Spirit's telling me that this information is very, very valuable. So I'm going to keep on going. So anti-human invasion history. An important distinction that surfaced with the Ascension Timeline Rebellion memories of planetary invasion and with the forthcoming global awakening disclosure event is that when the presence and objectives of the Antichrist intruders are finally revealed to the global population, we will finally realize that all of humanity has been equally enslaved for thousands of years. We will awaken to know that all humans have been coexisting together on a prison planet designed as a worker-slave farm used to covertly target human children, harvest all human beings' life force and planetary resources, all being managed by invading races of anti-humans, hiding amongst the power elite cabal network while using hidden advanced technologies kept from the public. When we were invaded, there was no longer dark negative polarity connected to the energetic balance of life and living things. Instead, humanity became physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual slaves, implanted with black miasmic fields of mind control implants, hybridization, insignias to assign them as property of another species. So with the Cabal, it talks about the Cabal that runs the 10-dimensional tree of life instead of the 12-dimensional. They are the mystics behind keeping us in the 10th dimensional instead of the 12th. The power elite. They are a small group of people who conjure black magic through dark rituals that are used for maintaining contact with a negative agenda, in order to control the entire planet through the manipulation of the collective consciousness through fear-based programming that is transmitted via mind control, to reinforce the fear programming and keep the population in a vibration of fear and separation. They organized a complex system of global institutions to act as the primary enforcer of the propagation of the disinformation that they use to control the people, to self-enforce the belief systems that shape the control narrative of the 3D reality. The power elite are known as, and also referred to as, the Dark Cabal. Controllers are those entities running the shadow government. There are 5 pillars of the main structures that use anti-human control, which influence all planetary affairs. The power elites, the military industrialization, intelligence agencies, the covert groups in the government, religious, academic, financial, and medical, controlled media, and press systems. And it talks about how they use divide and conquer, they use victim mentality, all sorts of good stuff in here that will help you really understand what's going on and what has been going on and how to release yourself from it. Wow. What a start. Culture wars. I feel like this is pretty important right now. So the current culture wars are using aggressive mind control tactics to purposely attack individualism, autonomy, and self-leadership, to cultivate a generation of non-critical thinkers who automatically follow collectivism, coercion, and blind obedience to another level of global tyranny. The problem, reaction, solution stage is being set, pushing for another round of cultural Marxism or socialism, instigated from the World War era, designed to fulfill the satanic collective nightmare of the New World Order. As more awakening people choose to become public figures to help guide the paradigm shift, they need to become aware of their sphere of influence and recognize that they have become a leader by default. With whistleblowers, independent journalists, disclosure teams, experiencers, and spiritually awakening people are acting as the main platforms of relevant news. This emanation of ongoing planetary events. It is easy to see why cultivating self-leadership is important. The spiritual disclosure ascension communities are plagued by psychological warfare tactics to incite meaningless drama that confuse and derail those thrust into the leadership by default position. Given the current escalation in war over consciousness, how do we more deeply understand individualism, autonomy, and self-leadership? How do we recognize the negative agenda playbook and pressures being exerted while staying focused on full spiritual embodiment, capable of traveling freely on multi-dimensional planes where autonomy and freedom are the natural state of existence for the eternal living spirit? Humanity is currently enduring a powerfully transformative phase in the planetary dark night of the soul, which has generated deep divisions between many societal groups as a result of the socially engineered culture wars. The culture wars are a planned psychological warfare technique used against the population to attack concepts of individualism, autonomy, and self-leadership, designed to demoralize the public into class struggles that generate more victimizers. Demoralization tactics attack our mental body and distort our mental map so that we can give up our personal autonomy and capacity for self-leadership. Not believing in our own innate abilities to co-create a fulfilling and meaningful life for ourselves. Dehumanization tactics are attacks made against our core soul essence, distorting our minds into believing that humans are not worthy of humane treatment, leading to increased violence, war crimes, and genocide. As a result, many people have been conditioned to dehumanize themselves, believing they are worthless, and thus easily give up their personal rights to express individualism, autonomy, and self-leadership. These are human rights that are protected in the natural laws, and when we live in alignment to natural laws, our divine right to express our authentic spiritual nature and true self becomes increasingly evident as we spiritually awaken. The acceleration of the culture wars also reflects the global war over consciousness that is occurring in the macrocosm of the planetary, galactic, and universal levels. The intensifying culture wars manifesting in the other or the outer physical reality are a direct reflection of the intensifying events occurring in the war over consciousness. The spiritual warfare that is happening in the inner non-physical realities and within many of the invisible realms. The spiritual war is being waged at the end of the ascension cycle to attempt to enslave the human body, human mind, and human soul in order to strip individuals of their divine rights of personal autonomy, to hand over their consent to the controllers or the false alien gods who have full authority over the consciousness of that individual. Wow. In the center of the chaotic struggle for full spectrum dominance, the primary goal of the controllers is to continue to push for the centralization of their global control effects through the manipulation of their culture wars into a fragmented assortment of class struggles. The culture wars are based on the problem, reaction, and solution, a mass marketing and propaganda effort for selling a structure of society to the people. In this case, in order to get them to believe that the power elite want to enact a world centralized government that intends to equally serve the working class of the entire global population. Essentially, this is the same flavor of the Black Sun satanic ideology that came from the German philosophers of the late 19th century, leading into the world wars, which slaughtered untold multiple millions from the promotion of these same class struggle ideologies. Engineer culture wars are used to incite intense conflicts between an assortment of social groups and classifications, in which the people use the identity with different ideals, beliefs, and philosophies to weaken a powerful group or nation. The goal is to infiltrate the culture, destroy the traditions and historical records, and promote conflict into greater division in order to continually spread confusion and misdirection into violence. The invasion happened in Europe to destroy the historical records, and the existing culture of powerful cities and nations revealed this tyrannical strategy very clearly. Wow. Woo-wee. Deep diving. Deep diving, that's for sure. Wow. So let's go ahead and take a break from that for a moment. And let's watch a video. We're gonna have a few videos for us today. And these are gonna be fun videos to watch. So let's see, where are we gonna begin? Okay. So we're gonna begin with listening in on another podcast or interview. And in this podcast or interview, they have someone come on and they ask him questions about his memories of the Draconian and Lyran wars and his past life in Lyra. So it's pretty cool. I haven't checked this out yet. I wanted to make it authentic and watch it with all of you. So enjoy this 5-minute video. And this is a short interview listening in on someone's memories of Lyra and the Draconian and Lyran wars.
You had a pretty intense past life memory from the Draconian Lyran Wars, where reptilians came down and annihilated the Lyrans and were eating them. I think you mentioned in one of your, it was a podcast, I believe. What was your most peaceful memory back in Lyra? Your most peaceful, loving memory back in Lyra? just to kind of
I
balance
think
that
about them
memory.
all the time. Yeah, honestly, I think about them all the time. And it was, it's weird because when I look back at those days, it's like when my soul was a child.
Mm.
That's how I look at it now, like my younger days, like millions and millions of years ago. It was very bright, so because remember they just descended into physicality, so they were the first beings in the galaxy to descend into the 3D realm. So for them it was like we're souls deciding to have a physical experience. So that was like, I guess you could say that was the beginning of the 5D consciousness in a 3D body, which is what we're all looking to achieve. So it was the definition of that, and it was so peaceful, agricultural, everyone was love and peace. It was just like there was no such thing as conflict ever, and if there was like a little conflict, it was solved really easily, and there was no ego. Like royalty was not like how it is on here where it's like, yeah, we're royals, we're above you. It was like we're royals, we're the representatives of the civilization and the protectors, so we take on that job. You guys, we are you and you are us. So all the people look to us as like their representatives. It's like if we were to travel somewhere else, they would point to the royals and be like, okay, go to them, because they are us. So they are, that's the only way to explain it. It's so hard to put it in like physical words, but it's like they are us. So you go to them and they're like the head of the dragon. The best way to explain it. So any royals you come across within the galaxy, Orion royals, reptilian royals, I guess they all have different energies to it. Like the reptilian ones are obviously a little bit more aggressive, but royals are always seen as like the leaders of the civilization. So during that time, it was being 5D then, it was just like there was nothing. It was just like we were children. We're all just happy and playing. And then imagine now the draconians coming, and it was like the lightest of light, pure light meeting pure darkness. And I still look at that like I can't wait to, in the future they're going to make movies about this, because it's like, of course, it's our galactic history. So they want to tell about it, but the way the Federation first told me, they showed it to me like a Disney movie. It was like, so they literally explained it to me like this. They were like, once upon a time there was Lyra, and they show like lion beings and like, and they look like Caucasian humanoids and feathered beings. They look like avians, and they're all happy and la. So just imagine like, it looks like they showed it to me like this, like a little girl just prancing through the fields with a basket, and then she comes across this huge dark reptilian, and he's like, "Hi, little girl," and the narrators are like, "And now she meets the darkness. The lightest meets the dark." And I'm like, this is a cool ass story. Like it's so cool, but so heavy.
Right.
So they're gonna have to teach it like that, like a child, like a very nice innocent child meeting the most evil dark being ever, and explaining how that was the start to what happened in the galaxy. Now the galaxy, there's not as much war as there was then, but there is still conflict, like as you know, with Earth. Earth is like the middle of a galactic war right now. Like that's why so many beings are here incarnated in human bodies, is to help in from the inside. So they call us the ground team. So people that are incarnated and decide, okay, we're going to be on the ground, and then we're in contact with you guys. So it's like they're working through us and with us. And the draconians that are here with their dark agenda are doing the same thing. It's like, it's really a huge chess game. So a lot of us already know what's going on, and we're actively playing a part in it, instead of just like, oh yeah, I'm a starseed, or I'm going to work and all this stuff. Like we're actively deciding to do missions and things like that. I see a lot more people deciding to work with the Federation, and even angels, things like that.
All right. So that was pretty cool. That was awesome to see his authentic experiences and memories about Lyra and the Draconian War. So we're going to continue. let's talk about the Lyran Wars from Ascension Glossary. Alright, so the Lyran Wars. The main battles in human galactic history were fought in the constellation of Orion. And so these many wars are also referred to as the Orion Wars. However, in our universal time matrix, the wars started over territories in the constellation of Lyra, the cradle of Lyra. The Lyrans are the advanced races that created the Elohim, which is the angels, in the Avatar matrix. But soon, the Lyran Wars spread to the constellation of Orion, and it became a war between false king of tyranny mindsets and ideology with ideology of service to others, which follows the law of one. Essentially, this is the seed of the war over consciousness between the Christ and the Antichrist. The main original Lyran Elohim humanoid races were committed to the law of one in service to others, Christic ideology. The Lyran Elohim were supervising the Syrians to host the seeding of the 12-strand DNA genetics on the 5-dimensional planet Terra. These groups involved in the seeding and DNA rehabilitation are called the Lyran Syrian High Councils. The opposing groups were mixtures of patriarchal Melchizedek humanoids and reptilian races that propagated service to self and antichrist methods. These wars over tyrannical control and service to self ideology originated in the constellation of Draco and Orion. The genetic hatred generated from the Orion group digressed into the violent killing and destruction at the expense of others, while resulting in the propagation of the victimizer mind control on Earth. So the Avatar universe. When the cradle of Lyra was destroyed in the Lyran Wars with Orion groups, and its synonymous with the destruction of the Avatar level of consciousness in our universal time matrix. It destroyed the original access into the 12th universal stargate, tearing it away from its organic position in the Andromeda galaxy as it became merged with the Milky Way galaxy. This damaged and destroyed the Lyran DNA, which was the embodiment of the silicate matrix and had the capacity to live as a crystal avatar human being. This timeline in the destruction of the planets of Lyra is where a seed of the galactic wars began that are representative of the wars over consciousness. The war the Antichrist consciousness had waged against the Christos consciousness in this universal system. The seeding of the root races on this planet have been to reassemble the original DNA and reclaim that which was lost in the Lyran Wars with Orion Group and subsequently the reptilian races. The 12 tree grid was designed with the Lyran Syrians to help reassemble the original avatar, Christos silicate matrix of the human being in the lower harmonic universes, and reclaim all aspects back into wholeness with the avatar identity. Essentially, this is going into the past and future timelines to retrieve code in order to change the destruction in the future timelines from the Orion Wars in the present moment of time. For human beings, these consciousness bodies exist throughout the densities and are aspects of the higher self and light body. These aspects are called the stations of identity. In the fourth harmonic universe, it is the 10, 11, and 12 dimensions, and they exist with the 3 layers of the Christos avatar matrix. The split of 2 suns. But it's understanding that now we are coming into the healing of the split of the 2 suns. Understanding that the 2 suns, it's like the sun of the God, but the sun itself. The sun of all light, the soul. This is a consciousness, which is very hard to wrap around at a human level because it isn't human. It's a consciousness, it's a God consciousness, and it is that of the great central sun. It is that which feeds all life. Something blew up in the time of Lyra. Something was destroyed by the time of Lyra, or in the time of Lyra. Lyran Wars. Lyra was a planet. Vega was a planet. Aramento was a planet. In the 3 planets, something happened to one of these planets. And they exploded. I think it's Lyra, if that's correct. So when this exploded, this time that I'm looking at this opening, this nebula ring, is where it went. So it's saying that basically the explosion created the ring of fire. Let's go ahead and check it out. The ring of fire. So the ring of fire is a wall in time, the 2 suns, polarity in the universal body, the raw lineage, reshape consciousness, Lyra explosion as seed event. Lyran's created human prototype to help rip. Whoa, okay. This is deep. The Lyra explosion as seed event. So the Lyrans created human prototype to help heal the rip in time. Oh, okay, this makes sense now. So it's like the human bodies were made by the Lyrans, so the Lyrans could then descend into the human bodies and then utilize the human bodies to then repair the lower dimensions of the universal time matrix and the grid. Wow. And then you had other factions like the Anunnaki and the Draconians that created human bodies later on. And then they used those human bodies for enslavement, mining gold, and power control. It's like a counteraction to the Lyrans creating humans for the positive. Wow. So, opening as we hold the space and set the intention, taking a deep breath into the still point. Oh, is this a practice? Hold on. This might be a practice, guys. So as we hold the space and set the intention, taking a deep breath into the still point, to the center point of all union, the breath of source, the breath of God, beloveds, from our still point of wholeness and manifest decision, we decree with sovereign knowing, here expressed at our command, lovingly stated with absolute intention, the divine will that is the intention of the one source, one God. Thank you. This is a new configuration in this field. As our intentional field, our collaboration, the alchemy of our connection started to unravel. I'm trying to find words to describe this. Something has radically changed in the fields and in what it looks like to me, which is so fascinating as we expand and we created this. It reminds me of the Michelin Man. Do you know the Michelin Man? There are circular looking inner tubes moving up in a spiral. I'm not quite sure what this is, but it's definitely something in a different configuration and it's new. Okay, thank you. As we anchor, lock, and seal our space, and through I am God sovereign free, to reclaim that which is the sovereignty and freedom of all human beings on this beloved planet, we ask we connect to our families of light, guardian host races, and those that serve the ascending races now. Beloveds, in the highest capacity of exchange of God's infinite light, love, and power, we command the space now. Thank you. Ashe. Wow. Ra is one. A part of what is being relayed here is that as you hold universal body consciousness, this is another level and layer of healing, of return, of joining, of sacred marriage. This is a part of the universal structure that is the healing of Ra consciousness. Okay, what they are showing me is that the tone, the sound, tone, vibration of Ra is one. The Ra spirit as one spirit. The oneness is a lineage of orientation, and that is not of the universe. It is originated from another creation, another universal time space. The Ra, one spirit, this level of consciousness, which is very hard to fathom at the level we are speaking, created the universe. And the one spirit of Ra segmented, exploded. Something went on, and the 2 suns split into this, what I am seeing here, this wall of time. The wall of time is beginning to merge and heal. And it talks about the Lyran elders and human prototype. This is so ancient, this is so old, that so much of the creation that has gone off in these spaces has forgotten what it is and what it's doing. So it's not just about the human consciousness level, what the human being is endeavoring to do, but understanding that it is the human being, the prototype of the human being, because what I'm seeing is the lineage of the beings that were androgynous and were a part of the Lyran. I want to say the Lyran elders, the Lyran Syrian. The Lyrans I'm getting are like one of the ancient levels of consciousness. I don't even know, do they have form? I think later incarnations, I think this is like shape-shifting sheets of light. It's not really even a form, but they are referring to it as Lyran, because it was around the Lyran timeline in which Lyrans were a part of the creators of the human race. I don't know if they collaborated with the Seraphim or if they created the Seraphs, but this is around the Lyran time cycle. So yeah, as I've learned, especially being a Lyran elder, I learned that I was a part of the seeding of the creation of the human race. And when I learned about that, then I started to activate DNA inside me and memories of how to restructure, how to be able to help people heal, how to give people the blueprints of how the human being functions on the multidimensional levels, on the metaphysical level, how the psychological effects of the human work, how the emotions of human work, how the genetics of human work, how reprogramming works. So when I tapped into this ancient lineage that I'm a part of, this Lyran lineage, I started to activate the DNA codes, and I started to understand how to help people heal their bodies, how to help people completely reprogram and reassimilate themselves, because I was tapping into my ancient lineage. Welcome in, Sarah, and everybody else that's here. Feel free to ask questions, comments, share your downloads or epiphanies. So with the Lyran beings, be the ones who are still naturally vegans and the ones who were templates from the Anunnaki and Draco, the ones who were taught to eat meat. Good question, Sarah. Honestly, I don't have the answer for that right now. I can't really tell you. And I'll always be honest if I don't have an answer for you. That might be something to sit into meditation with and see if you can get a channeling from within yourself. But it would make sense, though, that, Lyrans would be kind of more naturally in the vegan side of things vibrationally. And then the Dracos would be more in the meat and dense energy side of things. That's what I would assume. But we all have different genetics and different design. So for some people, eating meat genetically is helpful for them compared to others where eating meat is genetically toxic for them. Great question, but I don't truly have the answer for that. Wow. How fascinating. So it's so hard because relative to time, it doesn't make any sense. It's old, and the issue that they are trying to impress upon us now is that hole, that rip, that thing that is a ring of fire that I'm seeing is what is merging in your body. They're showing me that the Lyrans created human beings, the prototype that we are in, to be designed to heal the rip. The only place this can be done is in the bodies we inhabit now, period. That is the understanding that these bodies genetically can do this. What's happening now is that we're being revealed into understanding some of the greater or larger universal purposes of the human being creation. And in subsequent dimensions, as dimensions exploded out in these fragments of consciousness, forgot about all of this. There were wars over the human being. They are showing me that even ascended masters, the beings that had some levels of awareness of what's going on this planet, didn't even understand some of the larger reasons as to why humans were being created. It was like all the conflict and warring was being created for misunderstandings, the inability to understand the truth. And that, without us, there could be no universal, basically. Whatever was going on, they weren't getting this. They weren't understanding this. They were showing me that around the Orion Wars that started to happen is that there were creations, there were beings that were feeling humanity was being played a favorite. Like these beings, they are new and they're getting all of their preferential treatment. It is very significant. It is a very simplified way to say it, but there was a strange level with all this warning where, oh my gosh, hold on. I gotta slow down. It was a very simplified way to say it, but there was a strange level with all this warring and conflict over humanity, over this new body that had been created by these creator God propagators of the human race. And it was because nobody was understanding what the purpose was, that the only way we could return back into source creation without just closing down the universe, which is something that is done. Yeah, we definitely don't want the universe closed down. Holy smokes. So that makes a lot of sense. So basically the human body is made so that our higher self can then come into different planets and do planetary work. In order to do planetary work, you have to assimilate a quote unquote human body that matches the terrain of that planet. So basically we take genetics and we assimilate a body from that planetary body that we are going to then incarnate on, so that we are able to relate, connect, and carry the material and the vibration, the embodiment of that planet while we are surveying it. So this human body is made up of the earth that has earth vitamins, minerals, nutrients, chemicals, and then we came in and inhabited this body through birth for temporary experiences and our soul mission and purpose, which is different for many of us. And we read about some of those purposes of why. And you always remember that the human body is temporary. It's made to do a mission. It's made to experience a purpose. So that is the Lyran Wars. It talks about how it kind of started the victim and victimizer, the enemy patterning. And I know a lot of us still have some trauma codes as well from the Lyran Wars. All right, so let's go ahead and explore some more videos. And this time we're going to talk a little bit about the Orion and the Draco.
The Draco,
War.
they weren't born evil. They became that way because of a perfect storm of forces that twisted their very nature. First, the Carians, cosmic gardeners who seeded consciousness across the stars, decided to uplift a world of ruthless reptilian predators. They had done this many times on gentle, passive worlds where empathy evolved alongside intelligence. But this was their first attempt on a planet dominated by pure hunters. Instead of letting evolution slowly balance intellect with compassion over hundreds of millions of years, they forced it. They gave these predators advanced minds, language, complex societies, even fragments of their own divine DNA, instantly skipping eons of natural growth. It created the Shi'Kar, towering, brilliant cunning, but their hearts still beat with the cold logic of predators. They could strategize and build, but had no capacity to truly care. Then came the most disastrous twist. The Carians left them with a sacred teaching spoken on countless worlds. You own the universe. On every other planet, it meant stewardship, that life is part of the cosmos, meant to nurture and protect it. But to the Shi'Kar, mind still driven by the hunt, it meant something entirely different. The universe is ours to take, to dominate, to rule under claw and scale. That was the opening dark astral parasites needed. These entities who feed on fear, pain, and control, sensed the Chiakar's raw predatory energy like an open door. They began whispering in their dreams, fueling rivalries, promising unimaginable power. Over countless generations, they even incarnated directly into Chiakar bloodlines, embedding their hunger for suffering into Draco society's very DNA. Without their creator's guidance, the Chiakar descended into endless wars. For hundreds of millions of years, they slaughtered each other over trivial differences, scale patterns, minor bloodlines, each convinced they were the true heirs of the universe. Their wars escalated to nuclear devastation, forging survivors who were even harder, more cunning. United by one fanatical belief, the universe still belongs to us. Conquest became their religion, blood sport determined worth, and the terror of other species, especially humanoids, became an addiction, energizing every dormant predator instinct. So why did the Draco turn evil? Because they were the tragic product of forced evolution without time for empathy to grow, a sacred doctrine warped into a license for conquest, dark astral entities embedding themselves in their bloodlines, and a culture that exalted domination as divine. All of it made them what they became, the galaxy's most feared predators.
I don't know why he was speaking so fast, but wow. He was on it. I'm not sure if that was sped up or what. Oh, man. We still have quite a bit to unravel in this episode. So get comfortable. Take a restroom break, grab water, make some snack or smoke a little weed, get yourself comfortable and enjoy this because we're going to be deep diving. We have so many more wars to go over. We are starting from the Galactic, then we're going to be going down into the Earth history of the Earth Wars, such as the Electric Wars. And yeah, we're going to be talking about some stuff today. And then at the end, I'm going to share a music video. Well, it's not a music video. It's a track by Donnie Arcade, and it's called The Lyran Wars. He makes a lot of galactic hip-hop. Sarah, I feel like today's chickens are a breed from both the bird beings and the Draco. Oh yeah, for sure. You guys will notice that birds as a whole, you'll notice that some of them are like pure avian lineages, and then you'll notice that some are more like dragon with avian mixed together. And you kind of can tell which beings are more dragon and bird or bird dragon. It's pretty fascinating. And then you learn about the animals on the 3D Earth. A lot of them are descendants or just like, the distant family to the star versions of these animals. Like, for example, dogs. You learn that dogs are from Sirius. Canines come from the Sirius planetary system. So the dogs here are basically like descendants of the Sirians. And then you learn that about lizards, reptilians, reptiles, they're descendants from the Draconians, they're descendants from the reptilians. Anything that's on this earth is going to be a descendant from something in a higher dimension. It's really cool. So when we dive into this stuff, we're diving into the actual history about the things that are on this planet, how they got here, why they're here, and the purpose. Because everything is here for a purpose and a reason. Nothing is just assimilated and manifested without intention. So you got to think about that. Nothing is. There's an intention behind everything, whether it's a negative or a positive polarity intention that alters. All right, so let's continue. Now, this one is going to dive more into the Orion Wars as well.
Galactic Histories, Orion Wars. Many millions of years ago, civilizations developed across star systems near Lyra. Lyra is 25 light years from Earth. As their technology advanced, star beings in Lyra began to meet their galactic neighbours. Species and cultural differences led to visits, exchanges, growth, trade, and some conflict. Over time, conflict deteriorated into wars. To escape conflict, some Lyrans moved to other star systems, including Altair, Centauri, Sirius, and the Pleiades. Two cultures developed as civilizations expanded out from Lyra: service to self for the good of all, and service to others for the good of all. However, wherever Lyrans moved, they often took their old conflicts with them. Serious conflicts developed between groups in the Sirius system. Elders in Sirius intervened and moved the conflicting groups to the Orion system. The Orion system is 720 light-years from Earth. One aspect of life experience for many star beings was the exploration of polarity: night and day, death, life, masculine, feminine, separation, union. This polarization became extreme on planets in the Orion system. Orions built an empire of controlling dominators, exploiting selfless victims. Widespread domination and resistance became the Orion Wars of 20 million years ago. The Orion Wars lasted for eons and had many similarities to the early Star Wars movies. Far away from the Orion conflict, Pleiadians had developed harmonious, loving civilizations. On hearing about those who were being oppressed in Orion, they decided to help. They began to zealously counter the negativity of the Orion Empire. The Empire struck back, destroying a populated Pleiadian planet. The Pleiadians withdrew. In remote locations, the Orion resistance grew with spiritual perspectives and practices. But any force was met with force, resulting in a stalemate. Non-physical beings from Arcturus and Sirius offered holistic healing energies to Orion. A spiritual leader appeared to remind the Orions they were sovereign spiritual beings. Over time, the victims became more empowered, and the Empire lost influence. Eventually, millions of years ago, peace was established across most of the Orion system. Orion and Lyra became founding members of the Galactic Federation 7.5 million years ago. Sirius, Andromeda and Centaurus joined more than 1 million years ago. Today, the Galactic Federation represents 200,000 star systems.
Wow, that was cool. I did not expect that, to learn about the origin of the Galactic Federation. How cool is that? Wow. We're moving in some awesome and beautiful stuff. All right, we're going to continue. So let's see. The Electric Wars. Oh boy, the Electric Wars. So the Electric Wars, this goes back way before Egypt. This goes back before Atlantis. This goes back before Lemuria. We're talking about Hyperborea. And if you don't know about that yet, have fun researching and deep diving into Hyperborea. So the Electric Wars, about 5 million YA. Race war over the first root race. While in time, separated from the 12-strand DNA, the need to collect fragments and timelines, the 2D and 4D soul split, the soul rescue missions. Galactic history, summation of root race seedings. Huge war broke out over the first root race seeding on 7-dimensional future Earth Gaia. This is called the Electric Wars and is the Hyperborean Holocaust. It was a conflict over the dominion of the Earth realms and the DNA seeding and evolution of the human Christ kingdom. Race war conflicts ensued over the genetic mutations and DNA damage that was caused by explosions in other races, subsequent evolutionary and genetic digression. Huge war broke out over the first root race of the Electric Wars. It was over the dominion of the earth realms and human Christ. After the Lyran Wars with the Orion group destroyed the Lyran planets, race war conflicts continued after the Orion Wars in Lyra, which ensued over the genetic mutations and the DNA damage that was caused by explosions and multiple other race subsequent evolutionary and genetic digression. Lyran Elohim and the founders renegotiated to ensure that human species evolution would continue in lower dimensions of the Earth. Terra and Gaia, but would be sealed off from the higher realms as to protect the higher dimensions and entities from all of the distortions and genetic mutations that had occurred in the human race. Humans would have to undergo a slow evolution to reassemble DNA and clean up their mess to be allowed access to their cosmic families again. Our bodies were sealed off and were separated from our 12-dimensional consciousness. And this distortion to us created a separation between our antiparticle and particle selves, meaning we now experience separation and duality. Many more distortions to human species blueprint and consciousness occurred through subsequent seeding and evolutionary rounds. This also meant we would experience separation and awareness of the other aspects of ourselves, including our light body layers. To begin the healing of our fragmentation, we would begin by unifying our stations of identity and its layers of consciousness through the time fields. During our repeated incarnations, we would begin the unification of our consciousness by starting to draw in our Lemurian fragments in through our second chakra and our Atlantean fragments in our third chakra and conscious minds. The human fourth dimensional astral plane body would also draw in third and fourth root race fragments as a part of the separated emotional soul body that was created from these distortions in our morphinogenic field blueprints from DNA damage. So another task for a human race is that we are responsible to collect the fragments of ourself from the other root race cycles and seedings. So the planetary stargate systems. The planetary gates are the Earth's connection points into the galactic and universal stargate systems. They were once sealed off and closed, but now these stargates are progressively opening during the ascension cycle. See the precision of the equinoxes. The organic planetary stargate system, or the universal tree of life Templar opening, has been damaged from the negative agenda and the alien machinery abuse, from the negative agenda collaboration to control the Earth. One such war in human history was called the Electric Wars. This necessity, Crystal Star Guardian intervention, and the intervention is referred to as Ascension Plan B with mission upgrades. Science knows these energy vortices as wormholes. So the Hyperboreans. When the Electric War happened to the Hyperboreans on Gaia, they were split apart from their higher counterparts in Polaris. So when you think of Polaris and Hyperboreans, these are part of the first root races that were ever seeded as a part of spirit coming into a type of body and having a consciousness, having some kind of experience on a planet in a body. Hyperborean in the beginning stages was again a golden age, but by the end, the Electric Wars happened. Again, this is a part of the Orion group and the conflict over dominion over planets such as the Earth. Who's going to seed here? Who's going to live here? Why are you here and I'm not? This is what happened. And because of this massively tragedy of war, the Hyperboreans split and fragmented. Some of them were incarnated on our planet in those mythologies. What we call a mythology of the Hyperborean are actually the Titans that we know in Greek mythology. So when we are talking about Perseus, Zeus, and the Olympians, we're talking about the original races that sourced from the Hyperboreans. Whoa. Oh, wow. Wow. I'm going to take a moment to take that in. Holy smokes. Yo. I don't know about you guys, but this is like Wow. This is opening my paradigm so widely right now. This is bringing so much clarity. So much clarity. To really read that right now and to understand why there are these mythologies, the Olympians, these figures, these beings, these guides. They are some of the original seeders of this planet. And then they ascended into different forms and now are guides because they've already walked their walks of these lower dimensions. Wow. So we just learned here in the Electric Wars in Hyperborea, that is when the Titans were existing. And this is also why the Olympians, such as Zeus and Perseus and the other Olympians, are seen as giants and huge figures because they were the original races from the first seeding of the earth, of the human beings, the Hyperboreans. Wow. So the Hyperborean War has to do with the Titans and the Olympians and the things of that nature. Wow. How fascinating. So let's see. Wow. The Electric Wars timeline. So the Electric Wars timeline holds major casual trigger event memories of when artificial intelligence technology was in its earlier phases in the universe. This timeline represents the pre-simulation stages of the black subtle forces in the phantom matrices, before gradually converting them into AI systems. The 8th astrological precision was the time of the Orion invasion that occurred as a result of the Stargate damage in the 8th portal. And through each of the subsequent planetary time cycles, the alien machinery was methodically brought in to each dimension in order to reach the lower density of the material reality. Essentially, the negative agenda plan was to bring the Electric War dramas to the matter fields of the Earth in order to anchor into the physical realm, which shifts future timelines. The AI technology is used by the negative agenda as a sophisticated psychotronic warfare strategy installed into the planetary grid system that is being directed at the population in an attempt to enslave the consciousness of the Earth. From this point in the timeline, AI technology was set in perpetual motion to assimilate realities from the damaged 8th Stargate and the Galactic Center, where the negative agenda had gained dominion to control access in and out of the Earth realms. They gradually brought down assorted alien machinery from the 8th Stargate through an inorganic vertical wormhole, an artificial architecture they built with programmable reversible elements, and then installed into the vertical axes of the planet what is called the Yahweh matrix. Essentially, the Yahweh matrix distorted and cut off the planetary staff alignment, which when combined with the net, the NET, which is the netting that they put over the grid, it stopped all incoming and outgoing communication signals outside the dimensional control of the negative agenda. The Yahweh matrix replaced the planetary staff, which allowed the black hole entities to gain easy access into the Earth through the North and the South poles in order to distort the planetary field. This was done through genetic modification and set up frequency fences that broadcast extremely low frequencies that make up the Earth more hospitable for their survival. The low frequency and static net broadcast produced the predator mind construct and thought forms intended for mass human parasitism, divide and conquer tactics for spreading wars. These artificial nets and constructs were further designed to progressively pull the Earth and her world soul into inorganic black holes. Much of the Electric Wars were fought on Gaia, with AI machines being programmed from remote satellites or negative agenda ships, cloaked into these phantom black holes, accessed throughout the wormholes. Ripped open in the damaged 8th Stargate, there were subspace and hyperdimensional pockets, Metatronic nets used to cloak ships or base directing energy weapons, which can set off massive EMP blasts. This was used as an alien defense system in the 8th Stargate, so nothing could pass through beyond the metagalactic zones. So during the stages of the invasion to conquer Gaia, made through a series of electric war campaigns, they increasingly used the living matrix of the Gaian body. This was further siphoning from our system through all of our dimensions and timeline densities by running metatronic reversals from the metagalactic core, which pulled life force from out of the grid network of our entire planetary matrix. Wow, this is like, ooh-wee. So that is the electric wars, Hyperborea, about 5 million years ago. So now let's watch a video about Hyperborea.
Was the electric wars triggered because of jealousy? Or because of the many ETs who did not have 12 strands DNA? And using the electric experiment to create ascension? Or what does the Ashayana books say about the reason for the electric wars?
In the Ashayana Dean Voyager's material, the electric wars aren't described as a single emotional quarrel, jealousy, but as a technological spiritual conflict over the use of creation physics, specifically the electromagnetic current systems that sustain the Terran HU2 worlds. The following summary keeps to what those books actually say without asserting it as historical fact. 1. Background. Before the wars, the angelic human Tyrannusium races on Tara were intended to hold the 12-strand Christos template. Several advanced extraterrestrial collectives, Anunnaki, Seraphim, Dracon, and certain Elohim groups, had lost portions of that template in earlier universal collapses. They wanted to reacquire or engineer those missing strands so they could ascend without restoring their original connection to Source. 2. The electric experiment. Those groups began experimenting with artificial current systems inside Tara's planetary grid. According to the books, they altered the spin of planetary Merkaba fields, producing electrical outward radiating currents without the matching magnetic return flow. This artificial technology was called the electric grid or metatronic electrical charge. It allowed short-term power expansion but slowly destabilized planetary balance. The Guardian races objected, warning that this technology would invert the planetary polarity and tear Tara's morphogenetic field. The dissenting groups refused to stop. Their motive was self-preservation and control of Stargate access, not simple envy, although the texts do say they resented the angelic human's full-strand capacity. 3. Outbreak of the electric wars. The confrontation over those experiments escalated into open war. 1. Technological conflict. Factions weaponized the distorted electrical currents. 2. Grid seizure. Anunnaki and Draken factions tried to seize Tara's stargates to monopolize energy flow. 3. Collapse. Feedback from the reversed currents caused massive grid failure and the fall of Tara into lower density. So in the Voyager's narrative, the wars began through misuse of electrical creation technology motivated by fear of loss and desire for power, not an emotional jealousy alone.
4.
Aftermath in that cosmology. The implosion of Tara scattered fragments into lower harmonic universes, producing Earth, Mars, and Maldek. The hybrid and fallen races, later called Nephilim, were among those fragments, setting up the long sequence of reseedings that the books describe. 5. Core idea, open quote, cause of the electric wars per Voyagers. Misuse of the planetary electric current. Technology by partially fallen races seeking to replace the organic 12-strand energy flow, leading to polarity reversal and planetary collapse. Close quote. It's presented as a cautionary myth about technological creation without spiritual balance, rather than a literal account of jealous beings fighting. If you want, I can outline how those electric versus magnetic principles are interpreted in Guardian teaching as psychological energies, how that story functions as a metaphor for imbalance between outward electric masculine and inward magnetic feminine forces within consciousness. Would you like that symbolic reading next? Good. Let's shift from the literal cosmic story to the symbolic inner meaning of what the Voyagers and Guardian Alliance texts call electric wars. Even inside that belief system, these events are also meant to describe patterns that play out inside individual consciousness and in collective psychology. 1. The two forces, electric and magnetic. In Kelontic science language, electric current equals outward projecting, active, masculine aspect of creation. Magnetic current equals inward drawing, receptive, feminine aspect. Together they form the Eka, balanced Christos current. When both currents are in balance, energy flows in a self-sustaining circulation, symbolizing harmony between mind and heart, giving and receiving, spirit and matu. What the electric experiment means symbolically. The factions in the myth who tried to run only on the electric current represent a collective overemphasis on outward power, technological control, intellect, domination, or external validation, without the returning magnetic compassion that keeps creation in balance. So in personal terms, the electric wars mirror what happens when action, ambition, and mental control overshadow intuition and empathy. The mind's desire to master reality cuts off from the heart's receptive guidance. Energy is forced outward, achievement, conquest, rather than circulated inward, integration, renewal. That imbalance eventually collapses the inner system, stress, burnout, loss of spiritual connection, just as Tara's grid collapsed in the myth. 3. The fall of Tara as the fall into duality. Tara's fragmentation into lower dimensions parallels the split consciousness that results from polarity, spirit versus matter, male versus female, light versus dark. Healing the fall means re-merging the polarities inside oneself, learning to let electric, action, expression, and magnetic, receptivity, stillness, currents move in rhythm. Nam 4. Inner rehabilitation, psychological and energetic integration. Practices such as the Maharic seal and shield work can be understood symbolically as 1. Grounding, reconnecting to the body and earth, magnetic flow. 2. Centering, focusing mind and breath to stabilize the electric current. 3. Integration, letting both currents circulate, producing coherence, peace, and creative clarity. The Christos, or 12-strand template, then represents a fully integrated consciousness where masculine and feminine, intellect and feeling, giving and receiving are balanced. 5. The lesson of the myth. Open quote. The electric wars remind humanity that technology or intellect alone, without emotional and spiritual coherence, creates fragmentation. Healing arises when we restore the magnetic heart current to balance the electric mind current. Close quote.
Wow. We are deep diving. I just spilled my tea on my keyboard. Bear with me as I clean off this keyboard. Try not to touch too much stuff on it, so I don't. It has to be good to go ahead and just turn it off. There we go. Okay. Wow. What a video that was. I mean, this information, you want to talk about life-changing. I mean, this is as deep as it gets. You want to study the deepness of life. This is it right here. Like, we're coming into a deep, deep awareness of our human history and the things that have been hidden from us. It's actually like very critical what is being revealed today in this live. It's critical to our ability to advance forward. It is critical for our ability to heal our unconscious patterns, our DNA mutations, not just personally, but also in the collective planetary body. This is a revolutionary time that we're in. Nothing short than revolutionary, truly. Welcome in, Lunar Queen. It's been a jam-packed episode full of super deep information. So we just watched a video about the electric wars, Hyperborea, and basically the lessons of Hyperborea and the electric wars. And the main lessons were to remember to balance technology and electric with compassion and love, because their use of electric and their way of becoming too electrified, they ended up destroying themselves. So there's many lessons to these civilizations ending up imploding on themselves because of the way that they use their frequency. And typically these things are infiltrated by negative factions that will then teach these individuals how to do negative things, so that then they implode from within. It's how they do it, infiltration. These Draconians and the Anunnaki, they've done it to this day on this planet right now. They infiltrated our systems. They polluted our systems to try to kill us off. But some of us are way too aware and way too activated. And we are calling it out, and we are standing up for all of our sovereignty and our God-given connection. These medical systems and these systems of the earth, they've got to change. They've got to change. I don't want to get like deeply into the depths of these things and talk about the systems, because I might end up start crying here live on with you guys, because I'm so passionate about it. You know, I witnessed my father a year and a half ago have a brain hemorrhage, and then I had to take care of him in the hospital. And all the way up until this day, today, in this now moment, I've been his guardian, taking care of him. And when I was in the hospital, I already knew how corrupt the medical system was, but I saw it from my own eyes. And I had to save my dad's life multiple times with my knowledge as well as my Reiki abilities. And I did Reiki on my dad in the hospital when the doctor had no other solution to help him get his kidney to intake nutrition and to get his blood pressure to regulate under 220 for days straight. They had no other solution. And then I had to step in and do Reiki on him. And I started doing Reiki for multiple days straight. And that was what got him on track to surviving. It got his kidney to start intaking nutrition, and it started to regulate his blood pressure. So this stuff is it's all real. It's all real. And I don't talk about my personal experiences too much with all of you guys live on these spaces, but you guys are going to hear more about my real stories and my life experiences, because they're very extraordinary and they're full of miracles, divine energy, and transformation. You guys will be discovering a lot more as we go. So we're going to keep this in a timeline. So now we're going to go to the next one, which is the Nephilim Wars. And this is at 75,000 YA, or years ago. So the Nephilim Wars, this is the Anunnaki breeding program, the second seeding attempt of Nephilim rejected by the Elohim, Melchizedek, and the Anu DNA fracture. This is the 666 seal, is quarantine in the solar system. Galactic history, some mutation of root race seedings. So during the end of the second seeding, the Anunnaki started breeding with humans, and a race called the Nephilim was created. This was not agreed upon to genetically tamper with the human race, and the Elohim would not let this race walk on or be on the earth. This created a conflict, and another war broke out. This created the war with the Anunnaki and other Anunnaki sympathizers, such as the Dracos and the Sarian Anunnaki hybrids. The Nephilim Wars ended this seeding attempt, and we reorganized for the next evolutionary round, where the Luciferian Rebellion occurred in the Atlantean cladicism timelines. So seeding 2, the 3D Earth. The Syrians, or Sirius B, hosted this seeding of human race. The Eye of Horus, a stellar bridge used to bring in consciousness to incarnate in the 4-dimensional planetary gate in the Giza, Egypt. So the root races 3 to 5 attempted to seed onto the Earth. Melchizedek race families came in to help to repair genetic digression around this time, approximately 35,000 years ago. Violation by the incarnated Melchizedeks using Earth portals incorrectly around the Egyptian dynastic timelines unleashed a lot of dark energy onto the Earth's surface. A major damage was created in the second dimensional layers by the Akhenaten inadvertently. And it says inadvertently as well. So Akhenaten inadvertently or mistakenly opened up too much dark energy portals. So this was not purposed by the Melchizedeks as a part of the intended plan to integrate the Anu template from the damaged DNA in the planetary grid that had resulted from the Atlantean fall of the grids during the previous root race seeding. Unfortunately, there were some miscalculations and other genetic issues that raised a serious breach on planetary Templar security. So then we have the 666 seal. For this violation, seals were placed on the 6th and 7th dimensional access wings and our DNA coding preventing physical ascension out of this realm. This became a curse on humans, the 666 seal, as it was genetically inbred through the generations. So just to clarify, this isn't saying that our genetic makeup 666 is evil or bad in any type of way. This is saying that this was a seal that was energetically put on our 666, which is our human being. And this seal was placed on the human being because of these things that I'm reading that took place, which then threw the vibration of the humans in a vibration that had to be sealed away from the higher frequencies and higher dimensions so that it wouldn't infect those dimensions as well. It's like a wound or a cancer, like once you have a cancer or you have a wound or a tumor, you don't want to make sure that spreads, because if that spreads and it hits other parts, then the other parts are screwed too. So what you got to do is you got to capture that, and then you got to try to shrink that back down, and then you open it back up to be free with the rest again after it goes through its quarantine or its cleansing process. And that's what's happening on the planet Earth. So that's why we even see memes and all these funny things about aliens driving by and not coming to the Earth. It's kind of real in a way, because this dimension's been so toxic, just so toxic. So the Nephilim reversal grid. The Nephilim reversal grid, which is active in the United Kingdom, in order to dismantle the NRG, the various hubs feeding in from all over the planet need to be dismantled systematically while freeing the soul enslavement used to power these grids. This has been transpiring in the Guardian team since the awareness of them in 2008. Man, you think about that. The United Kingdom is said to be the owners of our birth certificates. So, they say the United Kingdom also is the owner of the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. You think about the Nephilim connection and the reversal grid. So the NRG is responsible to break apart hybrid genetics by reversing any synthesis of alchemy that happens organically between the male and female principle, the electron and proton, as well as repelling any healing for reptilian-based genetics, which is desired by the reptilians because their human representatives that are bred as Nephilim are easy to possess and mind control for their negative alien agenda. The reptilians do not want to heal, thereby integrate into human society as an equal. They want to rule it as an absolute authority in the Arcanian deception behavior enforced by the false king of tyranny. Man. We are going deep. Oh, yes, we are. We are going deep. Wow. So now, that is then going to bring us to the Luciferian Rebellion. So, Luciferian Rebellion, one of the heightened events of enemy patterning buried in our cellular memory history is that of the Luciferian Rebellion, which reached its apex during the end of the Atlantean fall. From the Guardian perspective, this was the end result of our last aeon, or astrological age, approximately 26,000 years ago by our human timeline measurement. What resulted in our Atlantean fall evolution experiment was quite a traumatizing, cataclysmic event that set the events into motion as to what humans would experience in the next aeon cycle. Think about that, man. What we do now with this world, this earth, this current civilization that we are, what we do now can dictate thousands of years of generational experiences from here on out on this planet. Think about that. Like, for real, think about that. Talk about the ripple effect. That's why they say it's better to slow down, mind your words, mind your tongue, and mind your business, because, ooh, wow. When you really think about how we have felt the effects of these wars and these falls all the way up to now, golly. So, continuing on. With the recent timeline insurrection, a large chunk of this cellular history has been playing out in our hologram and therefore our lives. We are able to complete this enemy patterning now via the new evolutionary insurrections. Through the energetic enslavement of the seraphim consciousness, the seraphim are the original angels that carry out the highest orders of the law of one. The fallen angelic were bound to play out the program of the Luciferian Rebellion as the sons of Belial. I'm sure some of you guys have heard about Belial. There's many factions on the planet. And so they played their part as dictated by the planetary grid structures. This was further capitalized by off-planet sources, such as the Anunnaki, who understood that this was happening, and many of these negative aliens joined forces. So the Atlantis timeline. So before we go into Atlantis, we're going to talk about the causation of the rebellion. So during the end of the second seeding, the Anunnaki started breeding with humans, and a race called Nephilim was created. This was not agreed upon. Okay, so we actually already read that. So now we're going to go ahead and deep dive into the Atlantis fall. Told you guys, this is going to be a very thorough episode, and we're going to keep this as a true timeline of, if you want to see it in a linear fashion, this is the linear fashion of our Earth main history. I agree, it is very important. Yes, no doubt. Definitely important. Let's get some music on. These vibes are very raw. No pun, no pun. These vibes are very raw. I mean, R-A-W, not R-A. Raw. These are very raw. The knowledge of raw. and I am so respected by so many. They trust and listen to my guidance. Ashe. May we all say that. I know I can impact millions with this knowledge. That's right. Literally. We can move civilizations. This is the kind of knowledge that Yeshua and Buddha and Moses and others, this is what they carried and they shared and channeled to people. Even Plato gave us full description of Atlantis through his channelings. They just don't call it channelings, you know? Downloads. That's what that is. When people like Plato are describing ancient civilizations, they're getting downloads. They're tapping into the Akashic. And we all do it too. Plato's just another OG like us. Oh, man. All right. So now we're continuing in the timeline. And what I just realized is that we gotta do Lemuria first. So Lemuria comes before Atlantis. So the Lemurian Holocaust was the first major event of planet Earth genocide memories, which happened around 50,000 years ago. I'm just also going to remind you guys that there is a trigger warning. You might feel some memories and some emotional energy. So the Anunnaki and the patriarchal Melchizedeks allowed the Orion group to stage an Draco invasion underground in secret deception. The Draco of Orion group tunnels between Lemurian and Atlantean continents. Humans found out and tried to seal off underground tunnels with cataclysm result that destroyed the Earth's surface. Earth core implosions destroy portions of the Pacific Ocean continent. Inner Earth and underground tunnels are rendering unstable. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, and sinkholes wreak devastation, killing thousands of humans. The forthcoming Ice Age forced the Lemurians underground. While underground, they started to organize the rebuilding of planetary portals and repair the Arc Gate with guardian groups. This was the first stage of planetary cataclysm, that is the hidden history and memories of the human root races that is recorded in our DNA, and of which the negative agenda wants us to forget this memory so they can continue to manipulate humanity into the Armageddon software, which is based on these previous timelines of Holocaust and genocide memories. So the Armageddon software is the programming that they will put us in of continuously being in fear. Fear of the future, fear of destruction, fear of the end of the world, things of that nature. So relocation to Egypt. After repairs were made on the surface from the inner worlds and underground, the Lemurian and ET technology that was used to repair the Earth was taken to Egypt. Approximately 35,000 to 45,000 years ago, these cultures were rebuilt with ET support and interstellar communication with many of the races in the universe and cosmos. The Sphinx was built to house the Hall of Records and to mark the access into the inner Earth Gate, and to be the placement holder of the frequency base for the future Earth Terra, which is the 5D future Earth timelines and soul frequency. Pyramids were built to pull in high frequency from Sirius B, who were acting as the support hosting due to the Syrian Anunnaki conflicts over territory. Sirius B gave the technology for teleportation, and to help the hybridization issue, a new hosting support was initiated, the Melchizedek Ascension host. The various levels of ET technology, such as the harmonic vibrations of the pyramids and the technology used for bilocation and teleportation in the Ascension chambers, were in power conflict with Anunnaki Nibiru resistance. These factions fled to join the Anunnaki with the Nibirian resistance to build new colonies in Atlantis, in which is currently the United Kingdom landmass. Wow. Man, all the history is getting revealed today. There ain't no more hiding. Wow. So the United Kingdom that we see today is the lineage that we just read about here. So then the Sphinx, the Great White Lion Grid, is a consciousness network that is made in the image of the Leo lion race, which is a part of the human genetics. So it was originally a lion's head. It was built as a tribute to the feline and Leo lion founders. The resistance Anunnaki defiled and altered it to destroy its function. That makes a lot of sense. So then you have the second cataclysm of Atlantis. Well, actually, we're about to get into that. So, Lemurian crystals. How cool is this? They're talking about the Lemurian crystals. So during the first Holocaust, a massive orchestration to hide and bury the contents of historical timelines, included in the holographic disc translations, was transmitted into the crystals, and then buried throughout the chain of the Hawaiian Islands and other island regions. As a result of these efforts to preserve the Christos Essene Templar timelines during the Lemurian Holocaust, these are specifically referred to as Lemurian crystals. This was a method to hide and bury sacred knowledge about Stargate mechanics in the maps of the 12 tribe genetics on the Earth during the Galactic Wars that were occurring throughout multiple dimensional timelines simultaneously. Wow. We just learned about Lemurian quartz crystals. All right, now we are going to continue. So now we make our way to Atlantis specifically. Now, since the Nephilim Wars, the Nibiru, Anunnaki resistance, and patriarchal Melchizedek factions decided to take over the inner Earth and start aggressive campaigns to take over the Earth territories 30,000 years ago. The Syrians warned them about the abuse of crystal technology in the Earth core, and these groups continued to force massive power generators into the Earth and crystal caverns. Several power generators exploded and ripped apart the surface continents of the Earth, more powerful than the previous cataclysm in Lemurian Holocaust. The planet Earth tilted on its axis, which damaged all planetary gates, planetary grid networks, the portals and stargates on the planet. All the pyramids and ET technology disconnected and went offline. Flooding and cataclysm destroyed the Atlantean colonies and much of the Earth's surface. This timeline is referred to as the Atlantean Flood. So the Egypt Stargate and Sun Takeover. During the time the Egypt pyramidal technology was rebuilt in the Giza Stargate, in that location as a central mission control and ET interstellar port, Syrians and Procon groups were in high security. The Nibiru Anunnaki resistance moved into the last Atlantean colony to Bermuda area of the 3D Stargate, and the Anunnaki resistance continued its conflict over territory and Earth dominion through war and genetic alteration of the DNA. Anunnaki and patriarchal Melchizedeks rapidly digressed their race and genetics through becoming a warring species like the Orion group. The Anunnaki planned takeover of all planet ET technology and to capture humans for genetic experiments to create a worker race, 28,000 BC. Further, they negotiate with Orion Group Draconians to share the spoils of war of Earth takeover. This action is what allowed the Orion Group and Draconians to get a deep foothold into the planet consciousness fields, and when severe genetic damage such as DNA reversal pairs to the planet and humanity really began. It's about 28,000 BC is when the Orion and Draconians started to really bring DNA reversals and genetic damage to the planet. So the third and the final Atlantean fall Wow, there's 3 different Galacticisms. So with the Orion group now an ally with the Anunnaki Nibiru resistance, they organized themselves into what is now known as the intruder races of current times. And these beings are who orchestrate the New World Order and the highest factions of the Illuminati plan for Earth takeover. This entails creating a social class system and hierarchy, a ruling class and a slave class on the Earth, which is the reptilian Archon ideology. In 9558 BC, the Anunnaki waged war over humanity, organized for the One World Order takeover. These groups go into the main Egypt Stargate and force EMF pulses into the Earth core and crystal caverns to destroy the arc gates and destroy any communication access beyond the 7 solar planes, which they now control through the Earth Stargate in Giza, the ley lines of the Sphinx and the GWL network, the frequency fence net. That makes sense, and that's probably where the 10-dimensional tree of life comes in. The 12 tree grid or the 10-dimensional tree grid instead of the 12-dimensional tree grid. Wow. So the EMF pulse forced a blast so powerful in the Earth core that it moved the ocean floor and tectonic plates across the Earth globe. It was at this time the Sirians took all ET technology and crystals off planet permanently to prevent any further abuse from these warring races. Without the ET and pyramidal technology to convert incoming frequencies and the precision of the equinoxes during the 2012 ascension cycle, the planet Earth would explode entirely, inhabiting the species and genetic material. So the Dark Aeon begins. With the last explosion of Atlantis, the Sirians removed all extraterrestrial and advanced technology, which plummeted humanity into the Dark Age 11,500 years ago. See the Age of Humanity. The morphinogenic fields and instruction sets were destroyed, and time fields collapsed, creating many problems. Astral plane soul body distortions and the negative ego pathology, such as disease, addiction, personal identity, were the result. The planetary gates and the 4th dimensional Giza Stargate that led into the solar body of our sun, as well as the Earth portal to the 8th dimensional galactic center, was damaged. No one could get in or out of the universe. Guardians from the next universe had to intervene with the Earth directly and incarnate on the planet to help avert future annihilation, such as the astral plane collapse. Frequency fences and 3D solar system and galactic quarantine was placed on Earth, which disconnected all humanity from all higher stellar and guardian communication in 9550 BC. Dude, this is getting so deep. Whoa. We're getting like hot over here. Man, just thinking about it makes sense now why you see the depictions on the pyramids of these extraterrestrial Law of One spirit guide members being on the planet with the humans, and they were reteaching and helping the humans rebuild the grid of the Earth. So you see the depiction of the lion-headed goddess Sekhmet, you see the depiction of Thoth, you see the depiction of Anubis, Horus, all these higher dimensional beings that chose to incarnate during the emergency of the Earth to help rebalance and reassemble things. And then they try to tell us that they're all just fake mythological beings. They're not higher dimensional guides. This stuff all exists in multidimensional planes. Everything is an illusion in existence, including us. but just because it's an illusion doesn't mean it's not an experience. If you get me, you get me, man. I can't over-explain this. Like, wow. Okay, so the Dark Aeon begins. Wow. So some representatives from other universes tried to incarnate and help the planet Earth recover from the damage and liberate the Earth inhabitants from their oppressors. Some of those representatives were Pharaoh Akhenaten. If you remember Akhenaten, he is the father of King Tutankhamun. So Guardian Akhenaten. The Guardian, previously known as Akhenaten, while incarnated, is from the Aton group and is intimately involved with the reclamation of Christo's mission, the Paladorian activations on the Earth. His mission is designed to protect those who are from the ancient origins, Christos and Yeshua, 12 bloodlines, of which he was involved in bringing to the planet while working with the Azurite teams over 2,000 years ago. He is the original family patriarch of the second Grail line of the Ruby Order and Cosmic Father's Ruby Templar. It is his bloodline that propagates in the universal Christ bloodline still today, although much information is propagated about him to discredit his legacy. Oh shit, we're talking about my lineage now. Just saying. So it says Jesus Christ, aka J12. So J12 is actually the galactic name of the being that incarnated as Yeshua, and is a Syrian blue human from the future that came to shift the inorganic third-dimensional timelines and embody the primary Mahi Grail line genetics of the 12-strand Diamond Sun DNA. This was the original soul matrix for angelic humans that originated on the 5D Terra. Thus, he brought the Essenes, the Christos Templars, and the Law of One Ascension knowledge and his consciousness technology back to the planet Earth. He is a direct family member and ascendant of the Akhenatens, second primary Grail line of the Ruby Sun DNA, genetics from the parallel universe of the Yakusha matrix. As a result, Akhenaten is the father of all Christos Grail lines on the Earth, but Guardian Yeshua embodied as the primary Grail line for rehabilitating the complete 12-strand Diamond Sun DNA template. The Guardian mission was in response to the DNA damage the planet and humanity had most recently suffered after Luciferian rebellion and then after the Sumerian Egypt invasion, which was the final destruction of the Mother Staff Principle and Aqua Ray in the Earth core. His group mission under the direction of the High Lyran Syrian Council was to work with the future 5D Earth-Tarian multidimensional Templar crew called the Azurites, originally organized by the Raw Confederacy. The disbanded Azurite team is now hosted directly by the Emerald Order. As a team, they were working with repairing the planetary architecture, doing soul retrieval from the Lemurian Atlantean Falls, preparing the ley lines, planetary grid networks, and stargates to help align the ascension cycle. The collaboration of Guardian teams continues in the next cycle of the rise of the Paladorians in order to fulfill the physicalization of the Covenant of Paladar through the reclamation of the Christo Sophia and a Menti soul rescue mission. Akhenaten returned the ancient Essene knowledge of the All-One, the Law of One, in an attempt to restore the male-female balance of the planet's geographical center, and bring to the embodiment of the law of gender. The sun was symbolic of being the source of everything, and the solar body of Aton was considered to be the bringer of eternal life in order to achieve full consciousness alignment through hierogamic union. Wow. And that is why they try to completely erase the royal teachings and the royal history of ancient Egypt. And they just tell you what happened at the end of Egypt, which is after they came in and invaded After they came in and invaded Egypt, they then enslaved, and then they told the story that the Egyptians were enslaving themselves, when really it was them that came in and started enslaving the Egyptians. Crazy how they do that. They do the history on the negative side, and then they try to tell us that it was in reverse. How wild. So then you become a protector of them. You become a protector of your slave master, basically. And then what that does is it divides you as people, because you're protecting the slave master, and then you feel divided from the rest of your people. We're getting deep, like super deep. Man, how cool to learn about the Akhenaten, King Tut bloodline and what they were here to do. Makes sense why they try to destroy the lineage, man. And a little fun fact, I have genetic sequences connected to this lineage. I've had 2 sidekicks clarify to me that I had an incarnation as Tutankhamun. So there's a lot of genetic and DNA downloads I've had that I just haven't found outside of me before that very much tie into all this. So the Akhenaten fall. So Akhenaten's mission in Spiral Time was the embodiment of the 5th dimensional grail, the protector of the Rodenstaff father codes, and to utilize ARC technology to transit Terran soul fragments and help prepare for upgraded 5-dimensional ascension timelines, and Yeshua and King Arthur's future mission with Stonehenge. He chose to embody in a ruby sun template in order to attempt to help heal the Venusian Christo's bloodline from ongoing Luciferian manipulation in the Ruby Order, and prepare for Yeshua to embody into a full 12-dimensional DNA silicate matrix. His genetics and timeline were cloned for false father alien god architectures and used the Essene Divide artificial matrix for use to invert the Christos mission, and to be used as psychological weapons by imposters that would divide and conquer the Blue Flame Essene groups. His holographic insert has been placed at the top of the pyramidal schemes of many Luciferian cults and secret societies, as his cloned image is used by the Luciferians as his imposter front in an attempt to hijack the 5-dimensional Grail point. Wow. So there's something key here. Oh, it's about King Arthur as well. So King Arthur is also a carrier of the Blue Flame Melchizedek codes. Wow. Talks about the genetics of Akhenaten and others being cloned into false gods and false versions. Then the Egyptian timeline, which is going to be our last discovery, is going through the Sumerian Egyptians. So in the timeline of Egypt, the alien machinery technology opened the portals in the 2-dimensional underworld, which created time and space rips, manifested incredible damage to the planet and our elemental and natural kingdoms. The damage made to the planet created multiple problems with human soul fragments, soul invasion, subconscious shadows, personalities. One of these events was the 18th dynastic timeline with Akhenaten, a cosmic Christo solar dragon guardian from the Emerald Order, incarnated as a Syrian Anunnaki Templar to begin seeding the Diamond Sun template of hierogamic union into the planet. During this mission, there was an accident during soul transiting via the opening of portal systems while attempting to move out trapped souls from the Atlantis and Lemurian fall. This ascension project ended in failure and destroyed his massive life's work in attempting to recreate Christic architecture and Law of One principles within Amanama. As he was building the crystal cathedral upon the earth. Upon opening rips in the second dimensional underworld, which unleashed harmful astral forces into the higher frequency planes, it fragmented many souls who were sucked through its black hole. Shortly after the event, he retreated from his rule and pain and was murdered, a Herod king, by those in his royal inner circle. Wow. That's deep. Some of us are here again to complete the project in this 2012 time cycle and have been working to heal the schism that this created within the second dimensional kingdom. The second dimensional field is where many animal and nature kingdoms exist as group consciousness and were harmfully impacted by the quarantine. They could not access links into other dimensional consciousness in effect and were trapped in that space. Because this quarantine is being subsequently lifted, many more of us are being contacted by species of the nature and animal kingdom. As this quarantine lifts, we will begin to remember how to communicate with the intelligent beings of nature and give them their access back into the higher realms. All beings on the earth are of the intelligent group consciousness. And as we begin to take back our guardianship of the earth, this means we are responsible stewards to cooperate in harmony with the nature kingdom. Egyptian history erased. So thus, true and accurate Egyptian history was replaced with Black Sun agenda of inserting Egyptian pantheon of gods, along with their black magic rituals that were to be enforced by the installation of the Setian king lines, the Hyksos, and the Amun snake priesthood. These groups in the Middle East would eventually integrate into the Greek mystery schools and further evolve into the corrupted lineages of the secret societies that form the Knight Templar and the Freemasons, some using the image of Akhenaten as their Luciferian high priest for enacting the blueprint for the New World Order. This is an inside joke to the Galactic Federation. Now, when they say the Galactic Federation, they're talking about the mimicked negative version of the Galactic Federation. There's a Galactic Federation, the Galactic Federation of Light. So to deframe his image and make a mockery of his life. Akhenaten was and is a Christic being serving the law of one in reclamation of Christo's mission, attempting to negotiate with his rogue Anunnaki groups to allow humanity to ascend into the 2012 window without interference. His negotiations to enter into a peace treaty failed shortly after he was murdered, a heretic king by a family member, and thus branded as a Luciferian high priest to the Illuminati hybrid lines. See the red cube Egyptian pantheon. Wow. And then the writer of the Ascension Glossary, Lisa Renee, actually gives you a personal experience from 7/17/07 that she channeled with Akhenaten. Wow. So as you see, there is a lot more. And the last thing I'll read is the right eye of Horus. So the right eye is called the Eye of Ra, symbolizing the sun. The right eye of Horus represents concrete, factual information controlled by the left brain. It deals with words, letters, and numbers, and those things which are describable in terms of sentence or complete thoughts. It approaches the universe in terms of male-oriented ideation, or masculine. Wow. What a episode today. Golly. Thank you for exploring our galactic and Earth timeline with me at the major wars and falls that we've had throughout the civilizations. And not just happening, but how and why they happened. Learning about the own self-destructive ways that we've had in humanity, as well as the manipulation tactics that have been in place from non-physical and physical beings. Wow. And here we are today, seeing a lot of it in our face, still happening, also being revealed. The age of disclosure. What a time to be alive. So I have one more final video for you guys, and then we'll close out. Thank you guys for joining.
What if Atlantis wasn't a myth, but a memory? For thousands of years, the story of Atlantis has haunted scholars, explorers, and dreamers. A mighty empire lost in a single day and night of catastrophe. But what if the truth behind its fall is far more complex and far more real than anyone imagined? Plato was the first to record the tale describing a magnificent island civilization beyond the Pillars of Heracles. Its people mastered architecture, astronomy, engineering, and naval power thousands of years ahead of their time. But beneath this perfection, something was unraveling. Why did the greatest civilization ever described destroy itself? Plato claimed Atlantis fell because of arrogance, because its leaders turned from wisdom to greed. But modern evidence suggests there may have been a far more devastating trigger. To uncover that truth, we must look beyond myth. We must dive into archaeology, geology, and the forgotten histories of ancient peoples who lived long before any written language, and when we do, a pattern begins to emerge. What if Atlantis wasn't one place, but many? Several ancient cultures tell eerily similar stories. A great island, an advanced society, and a sudden catastrophe. Egypt, Mesopotamia, indigenous America, even the flood legends of Asia, all share the same outline. These parallels suggest that Atlantis may not have been a single city, but a memory of real civilizations wiped out by unimaginable cataclysms at the end of the last ice age. Something did happen 12,000 years ago, something world-changing. Around 10,800 BC, global temperatures spiked. Seas surged. Glaciers melted with terrifying speed. Entire coastlines disappeared under rising oceans. Scientists call this the end of the Younger Dryas. If an advanced maritime culture existed along those ancient shorelines, it would now lie hundreds of feet underwater, lost, forgotten, except for the stories that survived. Is there physical evidence Atlantis was real? Modern sonar scans are revealing submerged cities off the coasts of India, Japan, the Bahamas, and the Mediterranean. Megalithic structures that should not exist at their depth. One of the most mysterious sites is the Bimini Rhoda, perfectly arranged stone formation near the Bahamas. Many dismissed it as natural, until divers found tool marks and precision shaping. Did Plato hide the location of Atlantis in plain sight? He wrote that Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, that places it in the Atlantic, but not necessarily in the middle of it. Some researchers argue Atlantis was a powerful trading empire spread across the Azores, Canary Islands, and North Africa, exactly where ancient shorelines once existed before the oceans rose. Or was Atlantis actually the Minoans? The Minoan civilization on Crete was shockingly advanced. It had plumbing, multi-story buildings, complex art, and massive fleets. Then, a volcanic eruption on nearby Santorini obliterated them, thriving empire gone in a generation. This real disaster matches Plato's timeline and description frighteningly well. Powerful maritime empire, sudden fall. A catastrophic event witnessed across the ancient world. But there's an even deeper theory, one most scholars avoid. What if Atlantis existed long before the Minoans, before Egypt, before Sumer, before the rise of any known civilization? Göbekli Tepe in Turkey dates back over 11,000 years. Monumental stone architecture built by a mysterious culture with unknown capabilities. They should not have been able to do any of this. And yet they did. What if they were survivors, not the builders of Atlantis, but the refugees who escaped its fall? Some researchers believe ancient survivors carried fragments of advanced knowledge to new, hence, astronomy, architecture, myth, creating the first sparks of civilization after the Ice Age. So what actually destroyed Atlantis? Three major theories collide: a supervolcano, a comet impact, or the rapid melting of the Ice Age. Each of these disasters did occur during the time Plato references, and each was powerful enough to wipe out entire cultures in moments. But the truth may be a combination of all three. Around 12,000 years ago, Earth underwent rapid climate shock. Sea levels rose 400 feet. Massive floods reshaped continents. If an island civilization existed on those ancient coastlines, it never stood a chance. This aligns perfectly with Plato's timeline, great civilization destroyed in a single day and night. Not a myth, a memory. But there's one final clue. Plato wrote that Atlantis was founded by Poseidon, god of earthquakes in the sea. Was this symbolism? Or a preserved memory of the very force that destroyed them? Earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, rising seas. These were the tools of nature that reshaped humanity before writing even began. So was Atlantis real? Not as a perfect utopia, not as a sci-fi world, but as a powerful maritime civilization lost to catastrophic events at the end of the Ice Age. A civilization whose memory lived on in dozens of flood myths retold for thousands of years, until Plato preserved them forever. In the final twist, we may find Atlantis soon. New underwater scanning, LiDAR mapping, and deep-sea archaeology are revealing lost coastlines once home to ancient peoples. The next discovery could rewrite human history. Across the Atlantic, the Mediterranean, and the Caribbean, entire drowned landscapes are being mapped for the first time. If Atlantis existed, we are closer to finding it than ever before. And when we do, the truth about humanity's forgotten past will finally be revealed. Atlantis may not be a single city, a single island, or a single culture. It may be the collective memory of civilizations erased by cataclysms that reshaped the world, and the truth behind its fall. It's the truth behind our beginning. Thanks for watching. If you want to explore more of history's greatest mysteries, make sure to subscribe.
Wow. 222 as that ends on this stream. 2 hours and 22 minutes with 2 viewers. Wow. Who's with me right now in the comments? Who's the 2 viewers? Make yourself known if you'd like. As we close out, I'd love to see your guys' feedback. If you've been here for the whole episode, part of it, how's this information been for you? Because for me, I feel like my whole entire paradigm, perspective, sense of reality has not just been like rearranged, but also feels like a lot of dots have been connected. And it was like I had a lot of dots or a lot of puzzle pieces, but now it's not scrambled anymore. It's like a clear picture of like how we got here, why we're here, what's been going on, and what it is that we're coming out of and evolving into as a collective and individual experience. Wow. This was quite the episode today. Please like, share, and subscribe. You guys can hit the QR code up on the screen if you guys want to check out any of my one-on-one holistic healing services. I also do Akashic Record guided meditations to help you connect with your starseed lineage. If you guys need help with trauma clearing, subconscious reprogramming, shadow work integration, developing new healthy patterns and routines, as well as you'd like to receive a reading or a light language activation or Reiki healing. Those are things I all offer. You guys can just scan that QR code, check out my services. You can also check out the retreats I have available, and you can also register for the retreats through that link as well. You can also browse my community. It's an international sacred community full of practitioners, artists, and visionaries. We have crystal shop, organic home hygiene, multiple practitioners, and just beautiful souls to connect with. With that, I thank you all for joining me. And wow. Join us tomorrow night. No, not tomorrow night. Tonight, I mean. Join us tonight. We got something special coming up. It's going to be beautiful. We have a full moon event, 10 p.m. Eastern. And that will be us, the Sacred Kingdom community.
Your moon altar is about to become way more powerful. December 4th marks the final full moon in Gemini of 2025, and the Sacred Kingdom community is hosting something truly special. Join us Thursday, December 4th at 10 p.m. Eastern for a live mystical experience with incredible souls like Lunar Queen from Organic Essence Crystal Shop, quantum hypnotherapist Sarah Broadhead, and Marcus ChristoLight of Sacred Light. Bring your tea, cacao, crystals, or create a moon altar as we dive deep into this powerful celestial moment together. This isn't just watching, it's participating. Drop your questions in the comments, connect with fellow starseeds, and let's get mystical under this final Gemini moon. Find us live on YouTube at Sacred Kingdom or Facebook Live at Sacred Kingdom Community. One love, and see you under the moon.
Land wars, human wars, right? All of this propaganda, all of the stress you can handle. There's a wolf on the prowl, creeping in the night like a phantom. Take a good look at me now, we done survived disasters. Take a good look at my features, kinda like it's a time capsule. We superheroes and don't know, and they hoping our powers don't show. Every time I look at the stars, somehow I just wanna go. Because it's odd to me, aliens up there wanna conquer me. Bio, new technology, no history, but economies wanna lie to me like they've been lying to me all in the schools. They've been lying to me all on the news. And my history's been lied to me too. I just wanna know the truth with memories, distant memories. Flashbacks, I can't remember things. Vivid dreams, tell me what do they mean? We was at war, tell me what does it mean? I guess the new world order's here. They just wanna get the chip of the Andromedans. Perspective, that just means ownership and enslavement. Through the mind control, altered DNA and genetics. Set out the ground control. See it's up here, yeah, we kick it. Then I wake up from my trance, I'm still in the matrix. Going crazy trying to figure out just what this place is. Got me channeling all the Zetas, talking to Palladians. Got more answers from my ancestors saying what they did. Can you tell me what our laws really mean in nature? We can read a lot of books but still they don't know our terms. What you mean you got instruction manual just for the world? They've been lying to me all in the school. They've been lying to me all on the news. And my history's been lied to me too. I just wanna know the truth with you. They've been lying to me all in the school. They've been lying to me all in the news. And my history's been lied to me too. I just wanna know the truth with you.
Based on the age of the sun and the planets in our galaxy, it was decided that the human life form will be created in the mirror system, which is the avatar. Timelines in the universal time matrix. The human race lived there for approximately 40 million years.